Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, and this is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market, as we get ready to kick off this day and the stock market open up in about 28 minutes from right now. We'll take a look over there at precious metals like gold and silver and the US dollar currency index, or the DXY. Lastly, we take a look over there at any type of crypto news or financial news that seems important or relevant. And then we hang out in the chat and have a good time for the remainder of the hour that we have in here. So welcome, everybody. Of course, on Wednesday, we try to keep it light, tight, and bright. I get it. A lot of negative price action out there yesterday. I saw a lot of mixed emotions out there on X. We'll talk about some of that stuff with where we're at right now after kind of getting through this post-liquidation range. And we've now kind of started to shift to the downside over in here. We'll talk about how things tend to typically play out after we do that type of stuff and the challenges that we'll have moving forward. But otherwise, happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday,
All right, that's enough of that. Okay, hi guys. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody's like, all right, get through the frog. Let's talk about what's going on in the market, right? So clearly a pretty decent move happened there yesterday. Let's take a look. Do we have this over here? No, that's still this stuff. Maybe we have it over here. Let's take a look at it this way. Yeah, I should have been a little bit better prepared on how this flow. A lot of times I'm just winging it when we come here on Markets in the Morning. Get a couple charts up and then we just start winging it. Obviously, the post-liquidation range has concluded and it's gone down to the downside over in here. And so, of course, the market, looking over there on X, man, it was like, what was real fascinating to me is that when we were in the post-liquidation range is how the general consensus was still that, we're going to go up. It was still, I was kind of keeping an eye on where polls were being done and consistently being that we're going to go up, even though we tried to talk about, well, here's what post-liquidation ranges typically do. They could take lots of varieties and shapes. They could sweep tops. They could do all those different things. We talked about XRPs. Where are you? There you go. XRPs sweep in the top, and typically they end up doing that. They can go higher. Showed examples of like ICP and other ones like that, go higher and then roll over. But now we get down here, and now that the fear kind of starts to settle in. But when we get into phases like this, right? And so Bitcoin, of course, goes down and hits 98,000 and something in there. This is where I saw a super chat come in here just a little while ago, and it's the thing I talked about in the last video. It's like emotions are going to just run rampant right now. And it's probably not going to get any easier as things just kind of bounce around in here. It's even proving challenging for me to try to figure out, I could see the general direction just based on the indicators, right? And the behavior that's happening in the market. The general direction, of course, is that we have a lot of reduced strength in here, but how these ranges are going to look and play out individually on each individual move is going to prove, I can already tell, prove to be incredibly difficult to try to predict or guess how each of these are going to end up going. But what happens, and I was talking to people yesterday, because in the thick of it, I'm just kind of been like, look, even if it's a bear market, which I'll show you here again, we'll show other signs showing that there's still a pretty good chance that it is. Even in a bear market, there tend to be violent upthrusts, violent green candles that happen, because what tends to happen in here is you are so emotionally volatile that every dip may scare you and get you to sell the dip, and then the price shoots to the upside, and you think, oh no, it's bullish, because you have so many content creators still telling you it's a bull market, right? And so the prices will shoot to the upside, and then you'll YOLO buy it up, and you go through portfolio deterioration. And So the hard part in these types of environments is to kind of like stomach the dips, understand the dips are happening. And then when the rips are happening and when all the excitement is returning and people are pointing with big green arrows saying we're going to 10x from here, that's usually where things kind of tame out. So I still think we'll see probably some decent sized bounces come. And I think we'll probably enter into more ranging behavior as time passes by. And that's what will get really challenging once we start getting into really just more continued ranging. But I'm not fully convinced by this bounce that's happening right here. I think there's another super chat that comes through here and asks, are you willing to buy anything? I'm willing to make trades. But I've been like real tempted to buy. I'll tell you that, right? I've been really, really tempted to buy, but each time I get like right there on the razor's edge of doing it, I realize I don't have the conviction to be able to do it. And then that day it'll like dump. And I'm like, okay, right now, I still don't have it. But I think that I probably could in one more dip. And the justification for that would be that I would think we would see a relatively decent sized bounce come out in something like that. And then if it doesn't, then on a larger time frame, there's probably a lot of chop and I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we'll look at like this example right here. For example, let's just pretend this is what's happening in here, right? So we're talking about like one more dip down in here. Whether this thing will fire all the way back up here or not, I think the risk becomes less down in here just based on time. If we kind of look at where the market's at, which we'll do here in a minute, we'll look at larger indicators and things like that and show kind of where we are at right now. Typically in this phase, we kind of like pause out here and we'll go sideways for like months on end and just absolutely ravish everybody. So sorry to tell you that, but we'll talk about it. So let's skip all this. I'm kind of all over the place in here. Bitcoin, right? So we've gotten below these levels. It's probably just still going to continue doing ranging behavior in here. And to, again, like go with, this is a topic I want to touch on right here. So whether I'm taking buys or I'm trying to do little trades and ranges and things like that, I probably won't even post them when I'm doing them because I don't want people following me in them. Because I don't want to have to be responsible for saying I made an entry here, I made an exit here, and day trading on daily timeframes when people just aren't going to be able to do it as fast as me. It's just not going to be. It's just not appropriate, in my opinion, for me to do it. But I have to have a bigger time frame context, right? And so I see on Twitter constantly, on X constantly, we're still in a bull market. We're still in a bull market, and I keep kind of pointing to the things that are very concerning to say we might not be, and one thing right here is MicroStrategy, right? So this is an interesting chart, and we don't have to these are things that I like because we don't have to sit here and say, what kind of distribution schematic is this? How is each range going to end up playing? Up thrust after a distribution, retrace to 702, break support, range more, blah, 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 right? We can just, when it comes to indicators and things like that, we can just say, if this, then that. When the indicator did this, this is what it meant last time. When the price behavior did this, this is what it meant last time. So this is the 2021 bull run for MicroStrategy. And what you could see, of course, is you have the big run happening in here into the beginning of 2021. And then notice over here, when Bitcoin makes that secondary top in there, that MicroStrategy does not set a new high into this rally in here, right? It goes back into a retracement level, and then it ends up rolling over. Now, an interesting comparison to that is that the things that we're talking about is that the price behavior of what we're seeing in the market is like being there in December of 2021 is what we just saw happen here throughout the market there on October 10th. So what we also just saw right in here is that, right, so here's that example, right? So you could see this with Bitcoin, how Bitcoin does go set a new high. And MicroStrategy does not follow along, right? MicroStrategy just does a retrace. And what we could see over here as well is the exact same phenomenon happens over here for MicroStrategy in this moment in time, right? And the comparisons being like, hey, this is a lot like 2021. We're seeing like these massive bearish divergences show up over here on Bitcoin. And we also see the same behavior happening over here on MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy does nothing more than go into a 702 Fibonacci retracement while Bitcoin sets a new all-time high. So it's the same type of behavior that we saw from MicroStrategy back in 2021 in that second rally. And the argument was being that, the second rally that we've seen in here for most of the market was actually just a retracement. And then, right on cue, we start doing the liquidations and all that kind of stuff happening here. But here's some other interesting things to look at as well. Is that we'll put that back on. There's Bitcoin for you. And we are on the weekly time frame. So as you can see over here on these indicators, even for MicroStrategy, look at this moving average convergence divergence, or this MACD. This thing for MicroStrategy is nosediving over in here. You could see over here, this is the bull market support level. You could, for the relative strength index on the weekly time frame, you can see that has also been decimated in here. We can go back over in here, right? You could see that as this move down is happening in here, coming off of the high, that is also where that floor gets broken through over in here back in December and January of December of 2021 and January of 2022. And that we're rolling over in here. You can see this over in here. You see this rollover happening in here where this new low gets put in here for the MACD right in here, which is all this time frame right in here coming off of that secondary high, which is the same thing we're seeing over here. But it's not just looking at it through the lens of the weekly time frame. We already have it over here on the monthly time frame as well. You can see right here that MicroStrategy has already crossed over, right, for the first time, right? So this is essentially the whole bull run, right? 2023, 2024, 2025. Here we go, October of 2025. Finally, it starts breaking on the monthly time frame, and we have the cross happening up in here. And you can go back over in here to see when does the cross happen for MicroStrategy? Well, December of 2021, the exact same spot, right? So we have the same bearish divergences that happen over in here for MicroStrategy. We see the breakdowns happening in here, and these were indicative that the top was in. And so last time, what did we see? We saw a bearish divergence new high happen over here for Bitcoin, and a bearish divergence new high happen over here for Bitcoin. But MicroStrategy did not set new highs into that time frame. And then we can see over here on the monthly indicators and the weekly indicators that MicroStrategy doesn't look too hot. And this, again, like I tried to say, this isn't something of being like, see, look at these structures and up thrust after distribution and ranging behavior and ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and all that different stuff. This is just indicator behavior, right? And price behavior that we had a bearish divergence on Bitcoin. MicroStrategy didn't follow along. The thesis was that, hey, we're acting a lot like late 2021 in this price behavior in the cryptocurrency market, that yes, it is like Q4, but why are you all pointing to 2017 and not 2021? Because it is like 2021. And here was Q4 of 2021 for MicroStrategy. And you can see that it did the same behavior, and that you now have the moving average, you now have the MACD cross happening on the monthly time frame starting there in October and gaining steam. And you don't get that type of thing to happen in here for MicroStrategy unless it's done, right? So that's another thing to add to the list. And it was just something I was just kind of staring at here yesterday or today, this morning. I don't know. The days kind of bleed because I get up so early in the day. But if you wanted to add that to your checklist or whatever you have, if you're making a bear case and a bull case, I try to make a bear case and a bull case to not be completely blind to one or the other, because I come in here into markets in the morning and it's constantly, so what about the Russell 2000? What about gold? What about this? And it's like, yep, those things exist, but how about this, and this? And that's where you get the complicated picture, right? And so this isn't something that we can sit here and debate, It just is what it is, right? And we know what happened to Bitcoin and the crypto market when that occurred back in Q4 of 2021, the one that we wouldn't look at. So, so add that to the interesting stuff over there. Another one, of course, is that the US dollar currency index continues to march upward. So this was another one of those things we put into the bear case, is that the US dollar currency index had double bottomed and acting awfully a lot like what happened at the end of 2021 when the crypto market came to an end. Here in the last 24 hours, of course, the DXY has continued marching higher, exceeding above 100. It's at 100.26 this morning. It doesn't mean it's not just going to keep ranging in here, but what do you see, right? We still see continued march up in the US dollar currency index. And yesterday, of course, we see crypto take a really big spill. Gold, nothing too much to say in here, sitting at $39.80. Silver right there at $48 on the button, 47.996. So still just sitting right in there. And we'll see on Bitcoin. I think we're now going to enter the really hard part of the market when it comes to ranging. And I think there's going to be some trades to take if we get another little daily low set in here. But I think it's going to be real hard moving forward. And I just don't know how to say that lightly on how difficult the ranges will get in here after this. That was just a post-liquidation range. Now there's many shapes and forms that these things can take, and we'll talk about those in the coming weeks. But I think it's going to get pretty difficult. Now, one thing that is interesting, because I'll touch topic on it, because of course I see it, the privacy coin stuff, right? And I don't know how long that privacy coin meta is going to end up lasting. Of course, you can probably imagine I'm excited about it, but of course, privacy coins aren't my entire portfolio. They're just a part of it. But it brings me joy to see that finally they're getting some type of attention. Where's what I want to do? Right. So what was interesting about this, right? So this is the reality. This is not this, right? So this is the reality of the market, right? We can go let me grab this. This is the reality of the market for the last 30 days, for the last month, which October 4th was the day that I made the 50% video. Right, this is the market, right? 15, 16, 18, 31, 36%, 42, 46% in the red. That's the reality. You have one up here, though, right? That's Monero, right? This is the top 20 coins by market cap. But what we are seeing, obviously, is we're seeing privacy coin meta taking off. And I don't know if we're going to see that transpire throughout the whole market or if this is going to actually continue. But what was fascinating about this, so I'm thinking about buying some dips if we end up getting it. And I'm trying to sit here and think, how do I want to catch stuff? Is this meta going to end up lasting? But there were some kind of early signs that showed up in here on Zcash and on other ones that were, I'm just sharing this with you to give you like a little tidbit of something that I noticed, and that maybe you'll notice it on things too. For anything that does catch it, that does end up catching a move. Again, look, this is 95% of the market, right? That's 5% of the market, right? So we can go through that whole list there, and it's not going to look like this, right? But one thing that really showed up in here was there was just a really big sudden out of nowhere volume spike, and you could see this for years. And again, this is going to be an example of why I'm not going to do coin picking or tell you the coins that I'm buying on the channel. Is that when everybody knows I own Zcash, or long-term viewers know that I own Zcash, but what happens is it doesn't matter if I buy 5 coins and if 4 of them win, I will never hear about that one forever. I will always hear about it. And for years on years on years on years, it's Zcash, 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 Zcash. I don't get anything about Zcash anymore. Nobody asks me about Zcash anymore. because that's just how it goes. And so I know it's a losing game as a content creator to ever do coin picking, because you're not going to be 100% on coin picking. No doubt you're not, but you're only going to hear about the losers for the years on end. But I'm thrilled to see Zcash. But the point I want to make in here is not that. The point I want to make, because I'm going to show you another coin, and I'm not making a coin picking thing. I think that's why. There was a very sudden, massive volume spike that happened in here. Where's Dash? Dash also showed up with insane amounts of volume out of nowhere in here, right? And so we can see this like on the weekly time frame. These privacy coins have been hit with massive amounts of volume out of nowhere. That is probably something to pay attention to, right? It doesn't seem likely that we're going to get some type of full-fledged crazy alt season, right? But there's clearly a meta happening here in the market. And another one that I noticed it's starting to do that is ZK Sync. And I don't know if that thing's going to bust out of there. Don't you dare one of y'all end up saying, hey, what do you think? Can you chart? Here's a $1.99 super chat in 3 months from now. Can you chart ZK Sync for me? All I'm showing you, there's a volume thing happening there, right? And so I was looking at him like, all right, is ZK, all right, ZK, it's an L2 of Ethereum. And I was kind of like, all right, well, the only things we've seen really do this have been privacy stuff, right? Like, what is an L2 of Ethereum doing? And I'm like, look it up. Okay, yeah, there's privacy features, right? So I don't know if we're going to see that transpire in the rest of the market, if it's going to strictly stick with privacy-centered things right now. But for things that I'm thinking about, I'm definitely paying attention to what's that, right? What's that? And we saw that be markers in other aspects. And so I'm not here to tell you that it's going to amount to anything. We have a lot of overhead stuff, but we can clearly see what has the whole market done. That, right? What has the whole market done? That. But these privacy coins aren't. And some interesting dynamics shown early on were high volume showing up out of nowhere on these things. So, just thought I'd share that because we do obviously see an entire market where 95% of it is getting utterly punished. But then there's like this other sector over here being like, hey, I'm doing well. And what were some of the early signs that showed up on those showing that they were going to do well and continue doing well? There was sudden blasts of volume that showed up on those things, really coming out of nowhere. And they're kind of showing up here on a couple of these things. And I thought I would just share that with you as an observation of what was an early sign. And that's what it was. It was just huge, massive, insane volume on these things. So food for thought for anyone. Moving back to Bitcoin, right? So again, we are left with the overhang of a lot of stuff going on here. Moving averages, as you can see, Bitcoin's now threatening its 50-week moving average. We can go test that 50-week moving average, play around with it for a long time, and then spend months underneath it, back testing it. It's hard to say we wouldn't do that because we've done that multiple times before. That just because you get below it, this one in here, right? You got below it, cleared below it. Back in May of 2018, it took all the way until November of 2018. I think that would be the most punishing thing for the market. And so that's why somebody said, hey, you were right about the emotional volatility happening here. Please tell me it's going to get better. Can't promise it will. But, these are examples of getting below that. I don't know if it's hard to say I don't fully subscribe to the moving average thing because we definitely have it where it's happened before. So I would just add it to my arsenal of being like, here's another thing to add to that to say there's some issues. We clearly on the higher time frame indicators are really starting to get some more momentum built into these things. We'll go to the 2-week too. You can see that here, more momentum being built into these things. There's stuff going around on Twitter of being like, hey, look, we're at here. This is the support level. Right. And then I think I saw Dawn post, oh yeah, what does the bouncing ball do? Does it suddenly just go like that? Or does it go down? Right. One thing to pay attention to is that something I think I mentioned it in Monday's video, how difficult it is to try to figure things out early. It's typically when the crowd is pretty euphoric, and that by the time we get to the monthly time frame, that's where things will get a little bit dicey. As you can see as well here, we are knocking on the door of the monthly time frame going for the cross, right? And so I do think it's going to cross. I don't see how it's not with what we see over there on the weekly and over there on the 2-week time frames, what those things are doing with those bearish divergences. I don't see how this thing isn't going to end up crossing itself. I think I showed this on Monday, just being kind of like, you could see how these things happened in here. Like by the time we're getting back down in here, where are we at? What are we doing when we're crossing these things? And they finally flip red over in here. That could happen this month. That could end up happening next month. But by the time we get to there, where are we at already? We're already through the fifth. We're consistently doing the same things. And so the things we just keep seeing over and over and over again is, yes, this is like Q4 of 2021 over and over again. And now we're testing with the breaking through the 50-week moving average. And at the same time, we're getting ready for the monthly cross of the moving average convergence divergence. Both of those things also like we just went through the whole MicroStrategy stuff, right? Both of these things also happened in Q4 of 2021. And the thing I keep seeing and understanding is people, right? The Bitcoin dominance is the biggest head scratcher of the whole cycle. There's just no question about it. And especially with monthly indicators pointing down over there on the Bitcoin dominance. But what people are having a really hard time wrapping their head around is I don't think anybody learned anything from 2021 is what I think happened. I don't think anybody did. I don't even think the big time TA guys, I don't think anyone did at all. I mean, if you recall, I went into extreme detail on studying 2021. And so I have a hard time knowing if we're actually just experiencing a lot of cognitive dissonance in the market right now of like being like unwilling to accept these things. Like, I just don't know why. I can make my own reasons why as a content creator. Like, if you got wrong footed on this, it's real hard to come on here and say to everybody, hey, look, I know like a month ago we thought we were gonna like 10x our portfolios, and now they're down 50%, but they're gonna go down another 90%. I don't think if people can do that, right? Like, I think that is part of it. It's not just TA. I think it's cognitive dissonance and the wrong footing that has happened in the market of why these things are just full blown ignored by TA guys on X. I mean, and on YouTube, I just don't get it. If it pans out different, great. But it's all there. It's all there. So, all right, Russell 2000, right? Of course, it's hit that 4.236 extension. It's been pulling back this week. Today is Wednesday, right? So pushing back still below those highs over there from back in 2021 and 2024. There's a little bit of divergence, I think, over here on the daily time frame. Still this thing has just, even with this march up in here, this thing has still just been weaker and weaker and weaker as it's just reached out and nipped that 4.236 extension. But there hasn't been anything truly catalyzing it to the downside. So still a wait and see there. I think stocks were pretty blood red yesterday. It's already kind of closed. I think but obviously there's been no real breakdowns happening over in here yet. So I think that the challenges that we face moving forward, I think even I am going to have a very, very difficult time predicting the ranging behavior coming in here. I think moments of fear. I think I'll take some trades, but I think that everything that I have to do, I have to keep this in mind of where this is, right? The bigger time frame context. So I'm not here to tell you with certainty what is going to happen. I'm here to show you, hey, when these things have happened before, this is what happened next. And this is what we see emerging over here for Bitcoin and the crypto market right now. And that's also what MicroStrategy did. So this is something that I haven't even included in any of the bear case write-ups that I've done or any of the videos that I've done, is the MicroStrategy dynamic to Bitcoin. And it's very obvious. The exact same thing that happened to MicroStrategy in Q4 of 2021 is also happening here in Q4 of 2025. So, all right. How do I turn this around now? How do we make this more positive, right? Like, all right, I know people are super emotional day to day, right? I think we're probably going to find some supports pretty soon and continue ranging. And I think what's probably going to happen is we just keep washing machining it back and forth. Right now, we're washing machining into the fear. Then we washing machine into the optimism and euphoria. And then we washing machine back into the fear and then back into the optimism and euphoria until eventually a catalyst arrives, right? And what always happens, right? So remember this, what will always happen is there will always be a catalyst to blame. And right now we don't have one, right? There's nothing. I think that's a hard thing for everybody. Nobody can like say, oh, no, see, it would have done this, but the catalyst happened. There's no catalyst right now. So, but eventually one will come, and then that's what everybody will point to and blame. Similarly to how when we had Luna and UST collapsing back in 2022, yet the stock market was falling at the exact same time, right? We'll blame something. I don't even want to predict what that catalyst will eventually be. But when things break down, that's probably going to end up being what happens, is that there's some type of catalyst, and everybody can say, oh, I would have gotten it right if that catalyst hadn't happened. But a catalyst will eventually come at some point. You just have to have a lot of underlying weakness happening in the market. And what we obviously see is there already is that, right? That already does exist. So whenever a catalyst comes, it'll be the thing that everybody kind of points to. But we have all the bearish divergences we need for those things to happen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I know everybody wants the positive stuff, but I gotta just show it to you how it really is right now. So there you go for Bitcoin. And I want to guess on this, but again, it's just like me saying like I want to buy and say that and then like not doing it because I don't have the conviction to do it. The reason I didn't make a video last week is because of the ranging. I recorded 2 different videos on Friday to try to talk about the range. And then like on Monday, it was like, well, I got to put a video out now. And I like explained the problem I had with the range is that the overwhelming indicators, of course, pointed to that happening. But how that would play out, whether it would be a sweep up and then down or range down, is that all bases would end up being covered for up, down, left, right, A, B, start, select, start, whatever the order is. But I think it's going to be like that again, right? Like that, will this thing, now that we've gotten through here, will this just range, right? Or will this catch a higher bid, right? And so, or will this go down here to 94, 93, 92, and then catch a bigger bid back to 110? And I don't have confidence on that, on how that would play out. So I'm not, and I feel bad for that. But the thing is, I just don't want to be the guy who comes on here and I just see so much of it, right? We can go here, and if we don't go here, then we go here, but then get through here, and then you have that, but everything's still okay till here. And then, right, we've put all this out, and no matter what happens, told you. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to say, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough until something obvious shows up, right? If something obvious shows up, then I'll be like, got it. Right now, I don't got it. Simple as that. I just don't got it. I can see the overwhelming issues. The overwhelming problems are here in this. And so it all becomes talking about ranging context, right? New ranging context. This range went down, next ranging context. And here's an example, too, of the difficulty. Let's do this. Why ranges are horrible. Right. We're talking about XRP. Okay. This is why they're horrible. Here is your post-liquidation breakdown back in February, right? Here it is, February 2025. And then what do? We go into the post-liquidation range, right? Then what do? We take out the downside of that range, and then we go down one more time, right? Yesterday, it was kind of like doing that. But look what happens after that. Fires up. Now, would it have done that on its own? I don't know. That's the day that Trump, tweets out XRP, Solana, and Cardano, right? Would it do that high? I don't know. But it does reach back up there on its own naturally without that, right? Then back down, then back up, and then back down. And this is all after the post-liquidation range. And so guessing that ranging behavior, right? Or guessing that ranging behavior versus that ranging behavior. I need to think of a word on how to describe it that I don't know how you'd guess it. I don't know how you'd guess it. I think, you can probably just pick levels, right? Things down here and things up here. And, they're just kind of broad. Here. But the shape won't look like that. But yeah, that's the complication. That's going to be what we're kind of entering into here. Until, if this is correct, that this thing gains more momentum here on the monthly time frame, which for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market, and if this 4.236 extension is stopping the Russell 2000, and of course the continued bounce over here for the DXY, right? So that's everything that is challenging in there. What else do I have to say about XRP? We'll go out to bigger time frames. Again, things pointing to like December of 2021. This has now gone even lower on the weekly. Again, to me, I don't know how this can be ignored by everybody, but okay. So that's a challenge that we have right now. That's now continuing to go even lower. And again, resembling what time period? November and December of 2021. So it's like whether we're looking at MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, XRP, the US dollar currency index, right? All these different things, we just keep getting pointed back to 2021. And so that's our overwhelming overhang right now. But the thing is that there's typically, how do you describe bear markets, if it is one, right? Love to just keep drawing people back in. And so it's I talked about this a lot when we're moving up, is that in the dip, if the crowd is scared, right? And they won't buy the dip. And then we had that happen here again. The crowd won't buy the dip. The thing that's really interesting about this one is the crowd's constantly buying the dip, at least based on what I'm seeing on X. Like, there's no things. I mean, I get it. Yesterday we had a lot of red, so there was a lot of fear yesterday, but I feel like we're doing that same stuff where the crowd is buying the dip. And I know we saw that at the end of 2021 in November and December, people continuing to buy the dip. But my point was being that you get moments of fear and then you get moments of euphoria, and then you get moments of fear, and then you get moments of euphoria where the crowd does not want to give up on the idea that the bull market is going to resume and it's going to keep sucking people back in. So I'm not a financial advisor, it's not investment advice. I don't ever tell you when to buy or sell. But if you're the kind of person who's like, I gotta sell, I gotta get out of here, right? Like, these are typically not the best places to do it. Typically, it's kind of waiting for when the euphoria returns back and the excitement returns back and everybody's hip, 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 hooray that the bull market's returning. And then reminding you know, that these dynamics are not changing in here. These dynamics all still sit here. And these dynamics all still sit in here on these monthly time frames. And to just keep that in mind. But typically, prices move down, but then they move back up aggressively to suck everybody back in. And for inexperienced traders, these types of environments will unquestionably erode your portfolio. You're going to constantly sell lows. You're going to constantly buy highs. It's a great time for vacations. and that's what I'm doing. I'm definitely taking time off. There's not too much to say in this. Like I always said, like, you know, if we got into what appeared to be like a bear market, that the video numbers would slow down. I don't want to overtalk and I don't want to make people sad. I just want to present you the content. I don't feel comfortable talking all about the extreme short-term price action happening in here because I know that I'll get them wrong. And then I'll have people saying, wait, does this change everything now that this happened? No. The major thing is the larger time frame behavior of the market, the weekly, 2 weeks, and the monthly. That's where we're at, and then it's just going to be chop city getting in there. And the question is, you know, when this thing can find its footing in here, and if this thing does run sideways for a little while, I don't know it. No evidence of it. You know, can the altcoins do something? Please. Right? You know, maybe. We'll see. But the thing I want to remind you, if this is a bear market, and today everybody's emotional, right? Go back 1 week. Everybody thinks we're ripping and roaring. You just go back 1 week, everybody thinks we're ripping and roaring, right? Then go to the week prior to that, everybody's emotional. And then go back a week higher to that, everybody thinks we're ripping and roaring coming off of the liquidation. We're going to constantly zigzag like that. That's not going to stop. It's going to constantly be panic and fear, euphoria. Maybe this time we are breaking out and it's a bull run. Moment of fear. Maybe we are going to break out this time and it's a thing. So just remember that with this volatility. But remember the bigger picture to not ignore is this. If these things change, we'll talk about it. But man, they're not pretty. So, all right, there you go. A lot of Bitcoin, a lot of crypto market, a lot of XRP, post-liquidation range starts going to the downside. And don't be surprised that we keep ranging even more after that, as shown. But I think the reason we focused on it so much is to kind of say that the crowd and X and influencers are all still pushing for a bull market. And I just want to keep showing you over and over again. While I would love it, I wouldn't care if I'm sidelined with 50% of my crypto that it goes firing off into a massive 10x thing. I wouldn't care. I would love it. But there's a lot of things saying we're not. So there you go. All right. How long did I ramble? 45 minutes. Jeez. Okay. All right. DXY 100.2. let's do this news thing. All right, yeah, stock market. Okay, private payrolls rose 42,000 in October, more than expected, encountering labor market fears. Amazon upheaval with morale shaken. Jassy looks for next big play after mass layoffs. Supreme Court hears Trump tariff case on Wednesday with broad trade policy at stake. Wouldn't that be fascinating too if that's our little like our XRP tweet from last year? What if it's the trade deal? It's the same thing. Bull or bear? Traders panic as Bitcoin dips below 365-day moving average. Am I okay? Let's lighten the mood. After Debbie Downer comes on here and just ruins it. Here we go. Take a deep breath.
It is Wednesday, my
All
dude. It is Wednesday, dudes.
There we go. Ivan says he's been a member for 3 months. He says, "You don't make us sad. You make us enlightened. Keep preaching, brother." Thank you, dude. Thank you. And I've gotten those DMs too. They're like, look, like just tell it like it is, man. That's what it is. Just tell it like it is. All right. We did the macro news. Bitcoin slips below 100K as analysts say Bitcoin is set to drop lower. Here's why. The hard thing about becoming bearish when a dip is happening is that even if it's a bear market, they just are choppy. They're real choppy. Just because you're going down doesn't mean you're going into a full-fledged crash yet. Like historically speaking, crashes are still like the real one, like the let's pretend this is 2018, right? Where Bitcoin crashed from like 6,500 to 3,000, like the ending capitulation, or like in 2022, like the Luna stuff, right? All that. There was still between now and then, it was still like 4 months of just chop city of that type of stuff. And so it can just be lots of ups and lots of downs. Always be fear in the dip, and there'll always be euphoria in it. And everybody's kind of mixed. All right. Bitcoin price 21% dip is normal as accumulator wallets buy 50K Bitcoin a day. That's what everybody's focusing on to see that right now. It's just 20%. And then later it'll be, it's just 30%. I remember. No, it's just 40%. Oh, we did lots of those in 2017. Oh, it's 50%. Okay. 60. Oh, no. All right. Are you a freelancer? North Korean spies may be using you. YouTube's Web3 gaming content ban. Anamaka to list on NASDAQ. Bitcoin is infrastructure, not digital gold. We got to change the narrative. It's not working, guys. What are we? A hedge against inflation, digital gold, private, against the system. What are we? Now we're infrastructure. Bitcoin slips below 100K as analysts say Bitcoin is set to drop lower. Binance CEO denies allegations company pushed Trump's stablecoin. Crypto whale who nailed the October crash opens $55 million BTC and ETH longs. Kathy Wood's ARK Invest adds $12 million in bullish shares as options trading surge. What's at stake for Sam Bankman-Fried's long-term awaited appeal? Okay, there you have it. Let me get these off here. I don't know if any of that's going to happen. Okay. We'll hop into the chat and we'll try to do it fast. And then we'll get on our way. All right. Of course, before the stream even started, Chieftain Blackbeard had came out swinging with 50 memberships gifted. Chieftain still does that. Man, brother, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. The chat is grateful too. You are absolutely amazing, man. I appreciate it. And guys, last week we raised over $8,000 for Operation Airdrop here. And I think during the actual stream, it was about $5,600. And then after the stream was over, it still went up to $8,100. So for everybody who contributed to that, I watched a lot of the aftermath videos of what was going on over there in Jamaica, and it was days until they got a lot of help. And hungry, thirsty, lost their homes. People are just living their normal life. I want to thank you for contributing and being a part of that. I'm real proud that you guys do that. And as a community, we were able to do that. We did that back in 2024 as well. And I think it's a great cause. It's hard for me to think up charities because I just don't know what to really do. We can all like save cats or, or do whatever. But these things, like I can just understand how difficult it is for these people and to try to help. And you guys do a fantastic job. So thank you for participating. Bulldog 589 gifted 5 BCB memberships. Brother, thank you. Pew pew. Does Bitcoin look like it's making 5-wave move to the downside? If so, are you putting any buys in the 5th wave low for possible retrace? I'm going to need more price development. It's going to be hard right now. I'm going to need it to kind of play out a little bit and show its cards a little bit more before if I'm willing to make something like that. Right. The overwhelming high time frame indicators on the weekly, 2-week, and monthly all look horrible. Right. The hard part is going to be the timing of ranges and range breakdowns, and it could take some time for those things to develop. But thank you, Pew Pew. Rised Ike. What do you look for when trying to find a fractal to match a chart? Do the highs and lows need to match exactly? I was looking at a fractal for February 2020 on the S&P. It looks close, but not exactly matches. Yeah, so that's the problem. I try to find things that are very much contextually similar. Right. So like anytime we've looked at, I don't have time to answer these things in extreme detail because we're already at 51 minutes. But like if a thing, I got a lot of comments when I posted the one where I said XRP is making a structure that commonly leads to a capitulation. And I gave 3 different examples of exactly what those can look like, right? And with the waves on them and how that happened and holding supports. And then I got a lot of other people commenting with just random things that they're like, it kind of looks like this. And then, of course, it shoots straight to the upside and becomes a moon mission. But if something's coming off of the highs, right? So it has to be context. And like, again, just like with people are sitting here talking about the liquidation that happened is like C19. Obviously it's not now, right? That's been invalidated. No, it's not, right? Because it shouldn't have gone lower, right? With the C19 liquidation, what does it do? It holds, right? And then it marches and then it keeps going higher. It's now set new lows. So that's invalidated. Why? Because they weren't the same context, right? C19 happened at the lows after a long bear market. This is happening off the highs. And on the altcoin market, it's happening off the highs. So I try to pick things that look like they're contextually the same. And do that. And the problem is you're very, very rarely going to find fractals that like match identically. Very rarely. This one has been kind of ridiculous. This thing over here for XRP and Hedera in the 2021 market, but still, even though they're not identical, but you don't typically find these things to happen. It just tells you, are the market makers operating on their own little thing here for these things to happen right on cue and right on time. This one happens within 24 hours, right? For the liquidation to come in and hit. You don't typically get that. This is very, very, very rare. And of course, these don't perfectly match at all, right? In here. But I knew this structure. I've seen it so many times that it was alarming. So I'm trying to find the similar context, but they're usually not going to match perfectly. Michael Fatboy Slim. Oh, yeah, Michael Fatboy Slim. Thank you very much. Says not a question, but you were right when you said an absolute washing machine of emotions. Basically, perfectly summarizes my mental state right now. Please, BCB, putting me out of my misery. Does this pain get worse? Well, the washing machine will keep going, right? So it'll just keep washing machining. Likely. Take this off for people who are just tuning in. Not that I'm pointing to that right there. I don't know that. JB Heavy. So yeah, I'm sorry. What will happen is your emotions will keep getting washing machine. Today, or yesterday probably in particular, everybody extremely fearful. Today, maybe a little glimmer of hope, but maybe not trusting it, right? If it dips over one more time, probably extreme fear and capitulation, then maybe a bounce all the way back up to 110. And then people saying, that's it, that was the bottom. We're beginning the bull run. Right? So it really, really is like that. And I've been through multiples of these, and each of them look a little different. There's not a textbook. There's not exact textbook behavior of how, like, here's how they always act exactly the same. Now let's all go nail every trade and every range and completely perfectly get them. And I think that was pretty obvious by just the discussions we had about the post-liquidation range. Bitcoin does sweep this high, right? Some altcoins do shoot higher, like HBAR did, right? XRP sweeped its high. The altcoin market did not. The altcoin market in general came up a little bit short, but they were all post-liquidation ranges and did it, but they all did something a little bit different, right? And right now, privacy coin's rocking. They're like, what? We're not falling. And so it's kind of the chaos you're in. JB Heavy Equipment Services, member for 18 months. My brother, thank you. He says, glad I sold some XRP at 330. Now I'm waiting for $1.60 to start buying back in. Michael, Fatboy Slim, also your thoughts on XRP ETF rally of 20% like HBAR, basically buy the rumor, sell the news before we collapse lower. I just try not to let news influence. I mean, the thing is, like, here's the reality. Every YouTuber, I'm sure, is talking about the ETFs, right? So the entire retail crowd is sitting here thinking they're front running something major happening together, right? How often does that work out? So it's not news that will surprise the market. News that surprises the market is like when Trump tweeted XRP, Solana, and Cardano. That surprised the market. Nobody was positioned for that, right? So the market ripped upwards on that. When the news is already there, right? And so, like, once another thing is like, I don't know what it's called. The XRP strategic reserve that was funded by Ripple, right? They're going to buy a billion XRP or something like that, but it was all just funded by Ripple people, right? Like, everybody's like, this is so bullish. This is so bullish. And it was just Ripple funding the thing so that when the crowd comes in and buy it, they're buying all of Ripple's XRP or whatever, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's something, the ETFs are just something we see coming. Will it have a temporary pop? Maybe. Don't know. I don't know. I don't really like to predict news price impacts. But what I never really like is news that the whole crowd knows about and that every YouTuber is talking about. The pump is usually the run up to the event, right? The buying in the anticipation of the event. And then once the event happens, exactly, buy the rumor, sell the news. I got to move faster. Delta Jalapeno. Hey, Crypto Dad. My first time here. I've been watching almost every stream since August of 2021. A lot of times I don't listen to your advice, but this time I did, and I sold a big chunk. Thanks, Crypto Dad. I learned so much from you. Delta Jalapeno. Thank you very, very much for the support, and thanks for being here. Mr. Wilson, thank you very much. Hey, BCB, I hope you're well. What levels on the ETH chart, just because it tends to be the father of alts, would you have to see to flip bull again? Well, it's just about expansions, right? Like, that if the whole market's going to expand, what does ETH have to do? It has to set a new high, man. The Russell still, or the US dollar currency index is still going higher. Like, obviously, it's got to set a new all-time high. It has to expand, right? If it sets a new all-time high, then that's good for the whole market. But as of right now, it looks like a rejection, right? And so that the hard thing about that, like, in the way that question is phrased, is it doesn't mean it can't bounce back up here, and the altcoin market bounce back up in here too. But it doesn't mean that it's not just continuing that type of stuff. And so, I mean, there's going to be bounces along the way, but if the question is like blatantly bull market, we obviously have to get to a new all-time high. We're really far away from it right now, really far away. right? So like when I think of bull, like for me, I'm genuinely thinking like if I get opportunities to get up in here, do I go ahead and take more out of the market, right? This is where the crowd will become raging bulls again, that the bull market is kicking back on, right? And this would be kind of like, all right, it's time for me to take some more off the table. And right. So then I've gotten some out here, near the highs. And then, then the market can try to prove itself. And if the market can prove itself, then I can be like, all right, let me chase some pumps. But right now it's just not like that. And that having this mindset it's obviously paid off in this environment, right? For this is the last month. But waiting for the market to prove. And trust me, there's been moments in time where like it didn't feel good watching October 7th, 8th, 9th. We're kind of going up a little bit. And then there's been times in here where it's like, all right, are we going to do that stuff where this post-liquidation range is going to shoot a little bit higher first? But just sitting back, being patient, understanding the bigger time frame indicators don't look good. They just don't look good. And I think they need to be addressed. I've intentionally watched a couple of non-TA YouTube channels, YouTube videos to see what they're talking about. And people intentionally gloss over all the things that I'm pointing to that they know are important. This won't get covered. And to understand why it won't get covered is it's not good for views. It's not good for sponsorships. It's bad business in the content creation world to do this type of stuff. Look at the viewership right now. 2,100, right? It's a normal range. I get it. But, right? What do people want? A back scratch. A warm glass of milk. But the context is very different than that, right? For the last several years, we've been able to do that. I'll scratch your back, right? I'll warm your blanket up in the dryer for you before you hop into bed. But now we're in, just the environment's changing, right? Misha, thank you. Proud father of 5. What a time to be alive. And Privacy Coin keeps pumping. Interesting. All the best, BCB. Let's go. Yeah. What if it is? Privacy. We will never use any of this stuff ever without privacy features. I don't know how many times I've said that. And here we are. The privacy are having their shining moment. Tony Wynn, what's your thoughts on Dash following Monero and Zcash? It's just a privacy. It's the privacy run, right? It's the privacy meta right now, right? That's why ZK is getting a little bit of a rise as well. I think it's just going to go as long as it can last. Ben Heller asking for a shout out to a newly born Blake. Thanks for your steady hand, Dad. Didn't get destroyed in the liquidation event. I did get destroyed in rest. All right, Blake, welcome to the show, buddy. Hopefully, Dad introduced you before you came out of Mom's belly. So this is just a familiar voice for you. And I don't know why I'm talking to a newborn baby like he understands me, but I think my voice was calming to my son when he was a little baby. I would always do a little song. I would hold him and go boom 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 boom. Yeah, that went on a little bit long there, huh? Here they go. Back scratch, warm glass of milk, blanket in the dryer, and a little bit of boom, 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 boom. All right, we're done. All right. BCB hates it when you call him my man. Really? I don't have a problem with that. Julio, if you look at Bitstamp 3-day Bitcoin chart, we poke through 100 SMA before each rally to all-time high so far. Is this time different? Much respect. I think we're trying to pick arbitrary time frames. Are we just picking arbitrary time frames? What about monthly? What about weekly? What about 2 week? How about those? Thank you. Anthony 14, hey BCB, have you sold all your XRP? No. If not, what point will there's not going to be a point where I sell it all. It's just not going to happen. Like I am at a point, a long-term investor at the same time. Right. So for me, like generally, what I want to get at, like for bear market, is at 65%. Right. So I'm at 50. The goal is to get at 65, and then I consider that a full-fledged victory if that happens. If it doesn't happen, it is what it is. I got 50. But the tension for me is not to ever get to 100 in any way. Right? And that's met with criticism. That's met with a lot of things of like, well, if you're so convicted, then why don't you end up doing it? And it just always comes down to I can always be wrong, and that's the crazy thing. Like I accept that, right? Like we're constantly looking at probabilities. We're constantly trying to predict the future, having to weigh probabilities, right? Do I have confidence in myself? I have very strong confidence in myself. But even with strong confidence, there's humility and humbleness to acknowledging that there can be times where I can be wrong, and I have to also risk manage that. That's part of my risk management. Is that could always happen. And so this is 65% is really minimum. I don't imagine I'd get above 75. It'd have to be like perfect conditions one day where like I'm just seeing it like I'm on fire that day. It's so strong to me. And that like there's a very easy invalidation on that it would get that high. Sorry, my thing crashed. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, no, if there became an opportunity, I'd consider some here, but there would be pretty quick invalidations above 311, 310. Really what I'd want to do for it, if I end up doing it, right? I'd want some, which I don't know if it will happen, guys. I'm just telling you, I don't know if it will happen. There would be like something that gets it in there, like real close to 290 or something, if I'm going to do any more than what I already have. And then it's just real tight. Because if I let go more here, then I risk it, right? We talk about emotions and everything like that. When I make moves, I try to make moves to where like I don't get emotionally crazy over any type of volatility. And so if I like sold some right here and then price shifted up here, I know I would be feeling really uncomfortable. And if I'm feeling really uncomfortable, could I make some bad decisions? And I think I could. So it would only be if I could get higher to where I felt that a lot of things could happen and I could still be okay. That even if it broke out of here, even came up here, that would still come back and back test these levels and I could be okay. Or getting out in here, and if it comes up, it comes down, right? Like you don't leave yourself a lot of room down in here. You're really counting on the crash to just continue to keep going. Whereas if you do it into an up thrust, then you leave yourself room for things to kind of happen and for price action to actually develop from higher prices. So there's nothing for me to do unless I get something really, really clean. And I think it would probably end up being up in here for something like that to happen. 280s, 290s, if it even happens. Julio says, even more compelling is the 50-week SMA. Yeah. Yeah. George, have you put thoughts into where you see a bottom at for Bitcoin? I know it's early, but thinking 5K-ish. No, it just depends. Like the reality of this market is, there's no question, it's just tied to the stock market. It's an equity market, right? We are a high beta play of the U.S. stock market. Bitcoin with the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Dow. Cryptocurrency market with the Russell, right? There has to be like expansionary forces happening or breadth opening throughout the market for things to get exciting, which, again, I forgot I was going to show this on here. Right? There's no breadth again. Remember, so the breadth fell back in late September, right? So rallies that end up happening, we'll look at them when they come, guys. So I know what typically happens is falls and then rises, and then on the rises, the crowd gets euphoric, and we can look to here and see, do we see signs that breadth is opening? And like what we saw is we didn't see breadth opening back over here. We didn't see breadth opening over in here. We didn't see it over in here, right? It ended up showing up later, right? And we know in the 2022 bear market, the breadth never opened, right? And so on the 2-day, right, the breadth also shut off, right? Our breadth closed off there by October 2nd, right? So we had even higher time frame breadth come in here and then shut itself off by the time we got to October 2nd. Then the liquidation happens on October 10th. And so we'll keep our eyes on these things too. But your question was about Bitcoin. I got lost. The thing I've shown over and over again, and it was really fascinating to watch the crowd like be very cool with it. Very cool with me talking about it for all that time until we got to it. Then the crowd that was weird. That was weird. And they still don't believe it. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go. I can't believe how late I am. Okay, Bitcoin. Dang. All right. Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta move fast. Okay. Start new. Get all of these off of here. Boy, we're gonna fly through stuff after this, guys. This has just been the discussion the whole time, right? That's all it's been. Nothing's changed, right? Right. And so it's just, does this continue to go? Right. And does there become a massive spillover, right? Then you're stuck with all this kind of trash in here, right? And until something crazy ends up showing up in here. But ideally, right, like it seems like, hey, if this plays out, which we're seeing the rollover on the monthly, we're seeing the rollover on all the weekly stuff. Where's the first area where it's like interesting, right? It's right there, right? Like, so we'll see how it goes. If that ends up being it, but this is the blueprint we've been using all year long, right? And then once it finally rolls over, like nobody believes it. And so, I'm not calling for 2K, 1K, whatever K. It's really just saying, hey, look, this is structurally how we got to where we're at. We did it the whole time, right? Here we are now, right? We're in Chop City, and just is this where we're headed? All right, I got to go really fast, guys. I'm so sorry. The only Marley, hey BCB, what if this Bitcoin top is like 2019? Fed ended QT. That was a retrace. Fed ended QT, cut rates. Bitcoin D went sideways. We went into a bear with no alt season till QE. Social risk is low. No crowd euphoria. Alts quarterly bleed against Bitcoin. So what I strongly suggest to everybody is to just go study 2021. And when you do, look at it through the lens of this being Elon Musk, Dogecoin, this being euphoria, Wall Street bets, roaring kitty, and then this being your October and November rally. And once you look at it through that lens and you start charting and studying and looking at everything, you can't unsee it. You just can't unsee it. That this was Q4 of 2021. Mr. Wilson, not asking for advice, but what do you think about longing inverse MicroStrategy and Bitcoin ETFs? I think that's a hard thing to do right now, and because you could MicroStrategy, like I just said, we could bounce here for months, right? Now, I mean, if obviously this thing could just break through, But this looks real familiar to like what we just even saw with XRP. That could be the outcome in here. Oh man, I've got to move so fast because I just don't have time. You know what I'm saying? Could be, right. And that's what I'm saying. Chop City. There could be Chop City in here. Misha, thank you. Steaks at 135. I was cooking steaks yesterday, and they were at 135. And steaks at 135, I was thinking about you when I got to 135. Because I've been messing up lately when I make my steaks. Been accidentally getting them to like 142, 143. And I got them exactly at 135. And I was like, dude, I'm getting 135 steaks today. Let's go. I thought of you. Got out of XRP at 292 after buying at 49 cents. Thank you. When do you think we'll see a bounce on Ethereum? How high could it bounce? I think we kind of already covered that. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to move a lot faster. Steaks at 135. Thank you. James Eid. I don't know if you saw Kramer said we're in a bear now. Yeah. I didn't see it. I went to his profile to try to find it. I couldn't find it. Unlike when he said buy crypto at the literal top. And like nobody cared. Like you guys spend years talking about it of like how that's a bad thing. And then he does it and you're like, oh, well, no, not this time. Not this time. He literally did it. He did it. Mackie, ZK Sync, interesting. They are privacy. Yeah, privacy's killing it. Ivan Nav, you don't make us sad. You make us enlightened. Keep preaching, brother. Thank you, man. Chris, BCB, God bless. You say no winners and rangers agree, but I'm seeing DeFi fee yield work well in chop. Thoughts? Still too risky, even with no leverage. Yeah, like just I don't see any reason to be in DeFi. Like everybody's getting into this XRP yield stuff too, like to what earn 5 to 10% per. Like XRP is down 30%. You now need 3 years of yield earning to make up for it, and then you're taking on counterparty risk. So I don't know. XR Priest, BCB, you are pure signal. Some people just prefer the noise. Thanks for all you do. XR Priest, thank you. 702, thank you. AF11, what needs to happen for XRP to be back at the $7, $8 target? What kind of timeline do you think is realistic for that? 1 year, 2 years? I don't know, man. I don't know time-wise. I think the major thing for XRP is just if Bitcoin is going into a bear market, does it just still continue to maintain that $1.60 floor in here and slam it a couple of times or whatnot? Like we saw with Tron back in 2021 that it did. It just kept slamming that floor and was never able to break it. I think that's the main thing to watch for. And if it does, then probably just got to get through Bitcoin. If it's a bear, if it's doing these things that we've talked about in here, right there, if this is true, right, I just think the main thing is just, can it hold the $1.60 while Bitcoin does that? And if it does, then hip, hip, hooray. That's what we got to get through. I think we just got to get through that first before we can even start looking at any type of timelines. And that's just dependent on how long Bitcoin's going to take. Shazad Al-Kurdi, hey BCB, thank you for keeping us always informed. My question is, most cryptos like Polkadot are 50% below. Well, you said most cryptos, but maybe you mean most cryptos like Polkadot are 50% below bear market price. If you ever get a bear market from here, what happens to those? I don't know, man. That is why, this is, again, all things, like there's so many things about the market. There's a lot of things about the market the same, but there's a lot of things about the market that are different, right? It'd be the worst bull run ever in the history of all time. But 2021 was our worst bull market in the history of all time. And like all the newbies that came in 2021 are like, yeah, I mean, that was just an epic. Like, not really. That sucked. 2021 blew compared to 2017. But then, 2025 worse than 2021. And then you got things that have touched all-time highs like Ethereum, XRP, Binance Coin. And obviously, I can name a couple of Tron. And then you got stuff that's setting new lows. Like, how is that possible, right? That's crazy, right? That's different. That's different. And that didn't happen in 2021. Like, even if stuff rallied up crummy, they weren't setting new lows, right? So I don't know. I don't know for DOT, man. Like, will there become the L1 meta? Probably would need to happen. All right. Mr. Q, my brother, 19 months. I just love BCB. The one honest man who really cares for everyone and trying to save as much as he can. Mr. Q, thank you, dude. Colby Collins, thank you for simply showing charts and having non-biased explanations. Now I'll wait patiently in DCA to lower my average cost for next time. There you go. Red Baron, does the recent Bitcoin move below 100K strengthen the bear case? Whether or not it strengthens it or not, I don't think anything has changed with how strong the bear case is. I don't think technically hitting 99 or 98 means anything in regards to the bear case. It's just that you have the dynamics of a bear here, right? I don't think the number being hit really meant anything in particular. Handercap, Monero going to Elgo. Yeah, going to the gym, bro. Thank you, guys. Going to the gym, bro. Hey, BCB, thanks for your dedication. Do you think do you think it's a bad idea to wait for a bounce? What would the next range low be? $1.79-ish, not financial advice. Yeah, it's very difficult with ranges. I would, in this type of behavior, dang it, did I lose it? Please be here. I don't know. Barring the whole thing isn't crashing and crumbling all on itself all at once, which I doubt it. Right? I think even me, like if I'm sitting here saying like all these things point to it being a bear market, it still means they're rolling bear markets typically. It doesn't mean they're just straight down. Lots of rolling, lots of ranging, lots of sucking bulls back in, scaring bulls out. It just constantly washing machines them. But typically, yeah, there's going to be another push down in here, and then you got quite a bit of price action to kind of sit there and be able to play around with after that. So for me to enter capital, I think I need one more dip for me to take a trade here, because otherwise I just don't have enough confidence here. I would need one more, because then it gives me a lot of room to play with in case things go lower than what I think they're going to go. If I buy here, then I really risk that, then I risk lower. So for another dip, I think I'll take a stab a little bit at this market. Rish Kokara, hey BCB, you may have answered this, but do you have a bottom target for XRP, and would you be buying more? I really need to see the whole market flashing something together. I need something completely from the whole market to give me a sign that bottoms in, or completely wrong-footed and market breaks out into new all-time highs or something like that. So it's not going to. It would be really nice structurally for XRP, just structurally, to continue to maintain the $1.60 floor. And if it just keeps kind of bouncing back up to 250, bouncing back up to 270, then boom, back down to $2, and just ranges there. But that's 160. Anytime it gets hit, it doesn't break. Right? And I'm not talking like, oh, hit $1.55, game's over. No, I'm just talking about the general area. And if that floor can keep holding, and then if Bitcoin hits like 69K or something like that, be real optimistic. That I'd probably feel pretty good. Could you talk about how metals are doing from CSS? Some of my aunt's friends are trading gold now. Also, do you think the DXY rise is just a knee jerk before the 1 TGA drawdown? I think we're all trying to become macro treasury people. I just don't. I think it's influencer stuff. No. I mean, was that narrative there? Whatever this is you're talking about, was that there over here? Here. And for metals, I've used examples of what I thought the silver chart would look like, in that it would get back to the high, but it could range here for a whole year. I don't think it's going to crash. I think it could range in here. I actually think we'll probably see 52, 53, 54 again, and then it go higher. But these ranges can last a long time. Crypto Matt TX. What about the liquidity rotation from gold going into crypto? That's nonsense. It's only Bitcoiners telling you that. It's only Bitcoiners telling you that. Okay, then why hasn't it happened? Why is crypto crashing if gold has gone down? The liquidity rotation from gold to thing. I mean, they do share some of the same thing, but like central banks are not like, hey, all right, sell our gold, buy Bitcoin, buy Doge. Right. Obviously, I'm being silly, but I'm gonna have. Oh boy, I gotta wrap. I can't believe what time it is. I've written about gold and I've written about the equity market many times and talked about it many times, right? Like we don't ever see expansionary moments in stocks if gold is in an actual bull run. It's kind of, and the way to think of it, like if this, then not that, or if this, then not that. Just because gold goes down, people want to say, oh, but that means automatically crypto goes up. No, right? If gold goes up, then crypto cannot, right? If gold goes down, then crypto can. But if gold goes down, crypto can go down too. But what doesn't happen is that and that, right? It's like all these different things can happen, but what doesn't typically happen is that. And that's what we've experienced because there's been no breadth and no expansion in equity markets. It's been isolated and tied into just like the Mag 7 and very few. And in crypto, it's the exact same story, right? Very few. But people are very frustrated. Over 95% of the market has not, I don't know if it's over 95%. I don't need to count it, but I would think taken out the 2021's all-time highs. No breadth. How will ISO 2022 migration affect compliant coins? It won't. It won't. You're getting influencer propagandized. Alex Perez, could you review ICP's chart? It would be greatly appreciated. I gotta go, buddy. I can't pull up individual things. It took a nice pop, man. But you know you're dealing with an overhanging macro environment in the crypto market where most coins look like this, right? And so you have one that's doing something a little bit different. No telling if it's just a couple entities that are in there pushing that thing around. If I were to look at things that are actually like catching real volume and real bids, it's obviously these privacy coins are the ones that are catching the real volume and the real bids. So, all right, I can't believe it. I gotta go. TA for silver, please. We love you. I'm sorry, I can't, man. I gotta go. I love you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I swear, every time before I come on here, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to tell them I got to make this stream a little bit shorter. I'm going to try to keep it at like 30, 45 minutes. Here we are, an hour and 27. Failure as always. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Get yourself educated. I put a lot of work into these things, right? Like we're winging it here on the live streams. The videos are just whatever on that day. These are multiple days worth of effort that are put into writing these things. They're like 80 pages long sometimes. This one right here was 71 pages. Comes with a 43-minute audio recording. And it's where I put the meat of my effort into these newsletters. So check it out at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Have yourself an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day. A little bit of green on there to board today after yesterday's kind of crypto panic, crypto Twitter panic. Otherwise, Tom Bombadil, have a great day, BCB. You guys have a great day, and thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.